Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining the GDSN series of webinars where training partners share their expertise, insights, and experiences as they prepare for the major release. My name is Mariam Mirza. I am supporting the GDSN major release for the GS1 Global Office. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to Brad Debke from Abbott Laboratories. Before Brad begins, I'll walk you through some of the main benefits, changes in the network, timing of the major release, important dates, and where you can find additional resources to help you with the migration. There's a lot to be excited about. Listed are a few of the benefits. Increased speed to market. This offers further support for business applications such as product recall, hazardous material, and sustainability. Support for industry-specific information, product marketing information, which includes B2C information for retailers, or other promotional processes. This may also include area in mobile communication. Richer product information supports additional attributes like ingredients and allergen information and information for promotional processes. Meeting the new regulatory requirements, which have unique requirements for different implementations across different sectors and different geographies. Improved data quality, such as new validation rules and support for preliminary items. As a final point, the GDSN major release delivers the ability to support the onboard of sectors and industry into GDSN in a more efficient, cost-effective, and timely manner. It will quickly support any request for the new data attributes. In October 2004, when GS1 launched its GS1 GDSN, there were only 74,000 GTINs shared among trading partners in 13 countries in the global registry. Today, over 36,000 companies have made the GDSN a cornerstone of their supply chain initiatives in more than 115 countries across multiple industry sectors. Now, more than 1.8 million GTINs are shipped among trading partners. To help drive further adaptation, the changes in the major release will greatly improve the implementation time for new sectors. Major Release 3 is not backward compatible, so significant activities is underway to help all parties prepare. GDSN Major Release 3 changes. Over 1,400 changes that add new features and improve functionality. 156 business requirements incorporated, 140 change requests, 300 new attributes, 1,000 code values, and over 250 new validations, and a lot more. Here are some key milestone dates from May 2015 to May 2016 that identify stakeholders, what stakeholders should be monitoring and actively engaged in. With that, we turn to our speaker for today, Brad Debke. Let me give you a little background about Brad. Brad is Director of GS1 Programs. Brad joined Abbott in 1983 and has served in a variety of information and technology program management roles for several Abbott businesses. In March 2011, Brad was named to his current role as Director GS1 Programs, including responsibility for the implementation of GLN, GTIN, and GDSN programs for the enterprise. The Abbott GS1 program has delivered an enterprise GDSN solution across 8 culturally diverse divisions to address the U.S.-based 2012 GTIN sunrise. During 2013-2014, Brad governed a multi-division program to address the U.S. FDA EDI rules for device class 3 products, which since have successfully been implemented. Currently, Brad is working with hospital customers to utilize GS1 standards, GLNs, and GTINs in the EDI Transformation. Now I give the floor to Brad from Abbott Laboratories.
Thank you, Miriam, and appreciate the opportunity to share what Abbott has done thus far. This first slide is just a little bit of history about Abbott over 125 years and where we've been and where we're going. Next. This slide just shows a sampling of our products from Abbott Vascular, Diabetes Care, our Abbott Medical Optics, and Abbott Nutrition. Point to be made here is as we go into Major Release 3, Abbott deals in all 3 sectors: healthcare, food service, and retail CPG. Next. So what's our story? It's quite a bit of past. We have created this GDSN solution. It's our central solution where we bring up to 7 divisions of Abbott Laboratory to collect product information, mostly US-based right now, into a central solution, and that is our hub at Abbott Laboratories. And then we've partnered with a data pool, One WorldSync, and a solution provider called Lanza to help make this all possible. Various customers we deal with: hospitals, health clinics, health systems, GPOs. We've published every GPO in the US, and of importance is the US FDA. We treat the FDA like a customer and sharing information. It's a very important customer, and we have special rules within the Lanza solution and the One WorldSync data, but we use GDSN to get information to the FDA for the good ID. Our strategy has been very simple from the beginning. Implement a single enterprise solution allowing for divisional flexibility that can meet or exceed the needs of our global customers. Next. So how did we get to where we are? The realization at Abbott, the key steps. The budget for our group was already in place. We didn't have the traditional battle of trying to get justification for people. We have a very small group from a core enterprise system of 3 of us, supplemented by 1 to 3 contractors, depending on the projects in place. And then we have people in our various divisions that can range anywhere from 1 to 3 people, and there could be other supplemental people depending on the projects, like collecting data for the UDI. We designed for the long range with the GDSN strategy. We didn't want each of our divisions to have a solution to get data into the GDSN. We wanted one common solution to feed all product data at Abbott and then supply it to the GDSN. In the beginning, we had an RFP, including an RFI, request for product information, request for information. That went to various suppliers, vendors at the time, and we ended up selecting, like I said, Lanza and their DataSync Direct solution, and then One WorldSync. Securing funds, just incremental to headcount. We had to get software funds. That was an RCE that we put in place, gathered all our data and put that in place, documented the comprehensive business requirements, and went through that internal process, got the funding, and have since then been rolling out. As mentioned earlier, this was our sequence. Going first were GLNs, then GTINs, including loading GDSN and by the end of 2012 onto the FDA rule. And in 2015, I can tell you it's been interesting in the retail market, dealing with various major retailers and dealing with a lot of top-off attributes, some which aren't actually in GDSN. But the big emphasis going forward now is on the major release 3. Next. This is just a visual of our picture. There are probably more details underneath this, but on the far left you see the various divisions using different means to load data into the central solution. Lanza is a big part of that central solution with their DataSync Direct product. We actually call it our GDSN solution for the enterprise. Some information comes in through spreadsheets. There aren't really any manual entry loads at this point in time, nor do we think we'll use manual entry. Some of the larger divisions where we're loading thousands of products use an integrated solution to get information into the GDSN solution. Then from there we have data synchronization going out to the right. The big orange cylinder goes to One WorldSync, our manufacturer data pool of choice, syncing up with various other data pools in the US and eventually around the world. And notice the special feed now to the top of the screen where One WorldSync does a connection into the FDA Good ID to load the data. So that, in a nutshell, is how information flows from the various divisional sources through the GDSN solution into the GDSN network and to the FDA. Next. So historical, what did we, how did we get in to GDSN, and how are we dealing with the major release 3? For the last few years, we've been, various team members, including myself, have participated in the GDS work group, now called the GMD work group, Global Master Data. Every Tuesday morning, we've participated in the GDSN user groups by GS1, GS1 at the global level, including GS1 US, attended industry standard events, and just been trying to keep educated by participating. I can't emphasize the importance of participating. That is the way you learn information, by being in these groups, hearing things. In the beginning, we got a lot out of the groups. I think right now, the position that we're in, we're providing a lot of information to people in the group. So I would encourage all of you to be involved in some of these groups, whatever makes sense for your company. Again, we deal, a lot of people think we're just healthcare, but we have 3 divisions that deal in the retail space and a couple divisions that deal in the food service space. So we're pretty well ingrained with GS1 standards in the sectors. Next. So what did we do the first half of this year getting ready for the major release? Again, attending the One WorldSync major release quarterly webinars, listening in what's happening, picking up new tips and tricks, going to their website to learn what's out there, just becoming educated. Partnered with GS1 US, various conference calls, consulting with Scott Brown at GS1 US, and a lot of Q&A sessions. Participated in their major release workshop that was held in March. We sent both business and IT people there. I need to emphasize this last one that's bolded is partner with GDS application solution provider. Whatever your solution provider, if you're using an intermediary to get to your data pool of choice, or with your data pool of choice, to really have a strong relationship with them to what's going on, where they're at, their timelines, etc. Numerous preparation meetings, setting expectations across the board, getting issues on the table, resolving those concerns, etc. So communication with who's ever in your supply chain. From your, at Abbott we have multiple divisions, through corporate, into Lanza, into One WorldSync, bringing all those players into call, including GS1 US. Next. So what's happened the second half of the year? I will emphasize this. What works well for Abbott is to create a mirrored environment. In order to keep the current production version of GDSN up and running, including our Lanza software solution, we need to keep that running all the way through May. So the only way to do testing for us in our environment was to have a complete mirrored environment. We've staged a development environment, QA, and production environment at Abbott. Being in the manufacturing business and being validated, we have to have 3 environments. So we have a completely mirrored environment, so when the software comes out for MR3, we'll start in dev, work our way to QA, and come May, hopefully go to production very smoothly. So key emphasis, if you haven't started this, you need to do it right away if it's right for you, because you'll need to involve your IT people to bring up your servers or whatever your environment is that you feed the data pool. Second, we've just recently executed an impact analysis with One WorldSync and Lanza. This was key. Knowing what was in MR3 is one thing. To know how it exactly impacts your company, and Abbott with 7 different divisions, which products are impacted, which attributes are impacted. We go down to the division level, because each of our divisions is considered a separate entity and has a information provider GLN, and that's how people subscribe to our information by our information provider GLN. So we had to go down to that level to find out exactly what's been impacted, and this has been a great help. This just recently came out within the last 3 weeks. We're working with our divisions now, and we actually think we're behind the 8 ball. We wish this could have happened sooner, but it's now December. We have the impact analysis, sharing it with our divisions, and then we can begin testing the major release 3 in our development environment. So that's a good step. If you haven't done it, you might want to consider the value of getting a very detailed analysis. Next. So what's going to happen from here out through January through May? We will begin our testing and development here in December. Come January, we're hoping to get final requirements. This has been a new revelation in November, December about getting our solution provider all the requirements finalized, final. It seems there's continuing tweaks and changes, but we need final code, and we think we'll have that at the end of January. So by February, we'll be able to go into our QA environment. In our QA environment, this replicates production 100%, and if it works in QA, it darn well better work in production. So that's going to start taking place in February, and we'll be doing testing February, March, and April. Again, there's lots of things to test, all the changes, 7 divisions, with all the attribute changes, making sure everything works, and key to that is making sure we can still feed the FDA with Major Release 3. So highlighted 3 to 4 months, that might seem like a long time, but it will take that long, and including all the paperwork, approvals, et cetera, divisions to do regression testing, full unit testing, full end-to-end testing, and making sure, again, the UDI works. So 3 to 4 months, and then move to production. Hopefully, with all this testing, moving to production in May, it will be a simple replication of what we've done in QA, and we've proved that it worked. We estimate this to be a 2-week process. I know GDSN will be down for approximately a week, but we're going to start earlier than the downtime to prepare our environment here and get things ready and staged, and then use that incremental downtime for about a week. So we believe we will be ready for go live, but it will come with a lot of work. If you have not started, please start. Understand the impact, understand how you're going to do your testing. So that's in a nutshell where we're at. Next. I think I've emphasized this before. Communications is essential. You need to be talking to everybody in your quote-unquote supply chain, from your people within your company. You might have different divisions. You might have one big division. You need to communicate where that product information is. You need to be communicating with your solution partners. For us, that's Lanza, One WorldSync, and GS1 US. Business communications, the impact to your businesses. One thing we're working out in the U.S. is coordinating communications with the FDA to say when that system's down, we won't be able to publish any new product launches. So we're working on that with the FDA and our businesses to say, hey, we can't accept new product launches in this 2-week window. They just won't go. We have no way to communicate that to the FDA. So we're working with the FDA on that, and multiple retailers that we're working with during this quiet period. The retail industry is continually making changes month by month, but very difficult for us to make any changes late April into May. So communicate internally, externally, with everyone you need to. Next. So that about wraps it up. This nice quote from William Wordsworth: "To begin. The first step's the toughest one. I encourage you to get started. If you had any questions, I think my contact information will be available on the next slide. If you'd like to call me, email me with questions, feel free to. I can answer process questions, but financial questions are a little bit more difficult to answer. Next. There we go.
Thank you for the presentation, Brad. Just a few questions that came in. The first question is, what contingencies will Abbott adopt if any of their customers are not as ready for major release as Abbott appears to be? Has this risk been identified?
I would say we're still working in this area. Within the GDSN community, the GDSN user group, I mean, it's become very clear that non-backwards compatible, it has to happen. So I'm not sure is my honest answer. We'll work with a couple key retailers. We'll work with some of our hospitals. I think most of our challenges will be in the retail space. I mean, hospitals in the U.S. it's still being picked up within the GDSN, but the big retailers in the U.S. We're going to have to develop some testing with them, and they're going to have to be ready. If not, I just don't know. If we don't send any changes through to the ready, if they want the information, they have to be ready. So it's a great question. I'm sorry I don't have a crisp answer, but I think we'll have to work out if they're not ready. Do we hold back transactions or not? And they may be asking the same questions. What happens if we're not ready? But we will be ready. Whether we have to work through the clock in early May, we will be ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad. The next question is, has Abbott tried One World Sync's new major release pre-pod interface yet? Any experiences to share?
Well, this just came out. It came out in late October, November, but we need to work through our solution provider, Lanza. That's the beginning of our supply chain, if you will, from divisions into our central system into Lanza, which feeds One World Sync. So we don't deal directly with One World Sync like many suppliers may be doing that. So no, we haven't dealt with this interface yet. We probably will get to this sometime in January, assuming the requirements from One World Sync to Lanza have been accurate and they've been able to develop their code. We don't anticipate a problem, but there might be some tweaks and challenges. But I anticipate working in the pre-prod environments in our QA environment unofficially in late January sometime, officially doing testing in February sometime. So I don't have any experiences to share other than make sure there's planning, communication. But we haven't sent any real transactions through our processes from Lanza to One World Sync at this time.
Thank you. And the final question for you is, have you noticed any common themes in your impact analysis?
Yes and no. Many of our divisions, since Abbott uses GDSN to get to the good ID, the divisions that have entered data already, the attributes that are affected are common. Those that haven't done it, that have medical device class 2 products, they don't show the impact because they haven't sent data through. But we anticipate the UDI is pretty much unaffected, although there's a couple pieces of information we're still trying to resolve as late as December here between One World Sync and Lanza. So we're working through those scenarios. But it's just the impact analysis is just great to know exactly what will be impacted. Some of the changes are simple, name changes which don't impact the data, deprecated data. It's not as impactful. So it's a little bit different for each of our divisions because we're in all 3 spaces: healthcare, retail, and food service. So the common theme is, I'm glad we did it, and our divisions are glad they have specific information. Now they can put into functional requirements into the divisional system. So I would say that's a common theme, that it's a good thing that we did it.
Great. Thank you, Brad. And just a reminder that the presentation will be posted to our website along with the recording. And with that, we're going to close the webinar. I want to thank all of you for participating, and thank you, Brad, for the presentation. And with that, I would like to wish you all a great day.
Thank you.